There is an insect that lays 10,000 eggs and expects almost none of them to survive. Not because of predators, disease, or bad luck, but because their reproductive strategy depends on a chain of improbable coincidences so stupid, if it were fiction, it would be called too unbelievable. These are Trigonalid wasps, a small and rarely seen group of insects whose life cycle is one of the most convoluted of all animals. Trigonalidae is a family of parasitic wasps belonging to the order Hymenoptera, the same group that includes honeybees and ants. Despite being found on almost every continent, they are so rarely encountered that most entomologists have never seen one alive. Many professional entomologists can work an entire career without knowingly collecting one. The family contains roughly 100 described species spread across 16 genera, a modest number that belies the extraordinary diversity of their habitats. Part of the reason they are so rare is that adult trigonalids only live a few days, just barely enough time to mate and lay eggs. There is no courtship, no extended foraging life. The adult trigonalid emerges, mates, deposits its eggs, and dies, all roughly within a span of a single week. The strangeness begins when a female trigonalid starts laying eggs. Unlike almost all other parasitic wasps on Earth, she does not seek out a host insect and deposit her eggs on or inside it. Instead, she lays her eggs on leaves. She uses her short ovipositor and the unique flattened structure of her abdomen to punch out a tiny disc of leaf tissue near the margin and replace it with a single flattened egg. She does this over and over, visiting leaf after leaf, plant after plant, depositing a few eggs per leaf before moving on. In some species, a single female may lay as many as 10,000 eggs during her short life, and a number that immediately hints at how poor the odds are for any individual egg. These eggs are practically invisible to the naked eye. They cannot hatch on their own, and they have no way of attracting a host. The only way a trigonalid egg can proceed to the next stage of its life is if a leaf-eating caterpillar or sawfly larva happens to chew its way along the margin of that particular leaf, swallowing the egg in the process. If no caterpillar comes, the egg simply dies. This is the first bottleneck for survival. The probability of any one egg being consumed by any one caterpillar is extremely small. The reproductive strategy compensates for this through sheer volume. But getting eaten by a caterpillar is only the beginning. Inside the caterpillar's gut, the trigonalid egg hatches, and the newly emerged larva faces an immediate crisis. It is inside the wrong host. The caterpillar is not the trigonalid's true target. It is merely a vehicle, an unwitting taxi. The trigonalid larva burrows through the gut wall and enters the caterpillar's body cavity. No other parasitic wasp in the world is known to enter its host through the gut in this manner, a route otherwise seen only in some parasitic flies. Once inside the body cavity, the trigonalid larva does not feed on the caterpillar. It waits. What it is waiting for depends on the species, but this is where the life cycle splits into two equally improbable pathways, each one insane. In the first pathway, the trigonalid larva is hoping that the caterpillar it now inhabits has already been parasitized by another wasp or fly, an ichneummonid wasp or a tachinid fly specifically. If such a primary parasitoid is present, developing inside the same caterpillar, the trigonalid larva will seek it out, attack it, and consume it. The trigonalid is a hyper-parasitoid, a parasite of a parasite. The caterpillar was merely bait and doesn't benefit from this arrangement. But what if the caterpillar is not already parasitized? In many cases, the trigonalid larva is doomed. It will float in the caterpillar's hemolymph, unable to complete its development, and eventually die without ever growing or reproducing. But some species have evolved a remarkable ability to wait. They can persist inside an unparasitized caterpillar in a state of suspended development, biding their time until an ichneummonid or tachinid eventually arrives to parasitize the caterpillar. Only then does the trigonalid spring into action, attacking the newly arrived parasitoid larva. This requires yet another coincidence, that the primary parasitoid will find and parasitize the exact same caterpillar while the trigonalid larva is still alive inside of it to benefit. The second pathway is even more convoluted. In this scenario, the caterpillar harboring the trigonalid larva must be captured by a social wasp, like a yellowjacket, hornet, or paper wasp. Social wasps are predators of caterpillars. They hunt them and carry them back to their nests to feed to their own larvae. If a foraging wasp happens to catch a caterpillar that contains a trigonalid larva, the trigonalid is transported directly into the wasp nest and fed along with the chewed up caterpillar meat to a wasp grub. Once inside the wasp larva, the trigonalid finally has its true host. It feeds on the wasp larva from the inside, eventually killing it and completing its development. The host range of trigonalids is broad and has to be. The diversity of its hosts is itself a survival strategy. Because the trigonalid has no way of choosing which caterpillar eats its egg and which wasp catches that caterpillar, it cannot afford to be a specialist. But there is also an ecological hack in the trigonalid's relationship with social wasps. By exploiting the foraging behavior of yellowjackets and hornets, trigonalids have effectively turned the wasp's predatory efficiency against them. The more industrious a wasp colony is at hunting caterpillars, the more likely it is to bring home trigonalid larvae along with the prey. Larger colonies with more foragers suffer higher parasitism rates, a sort of perverse incentive structure in which success at hunting translates directly into vulnerability to parasites. One of the most unsettling aspects of trigonalid biology is its sheer wastefulness. 10,000 eggs for a handful of survivors. Thousands of larvae hatching inside caterpillars that harbor no parasitoid for them to eat. Thousands more eaten by caterpillars that are never caught by wasps. It does not matter that 99% of the offspring die, as long as the remaining fraction is sufficient to maintain the population. This strategy of flooding the environment with eggs and letting chance sort them out is not unique to trigonalids. Many invertebrates engage in some form of it, but trigonalids take it to an extreme that is unusual even by the standards of parasitic Hymenoptera. Most parasitoid wasps actively search for their hosts, using chemical cues or visual signals, but the trigonalids have abandoned all of it. The trigonalid's existence demonstrates that extraordinary, indirect, and probability-based life cycles can persist over evolutionary time. Each female that succeeds in producing even a few surviving offspring passes on genes for the entire improbable strategy. Natural selection does not require efficiency, it requires only that a strategy works often enough.